Thank you very much to our panel members for taking the time out to present. I believe we may have, it might be a very light attendance. We have a couple of folks, but thank you for joining us for the 2021 Go Virtual Career Pathways Conference. I'm Margie DeRouter from the San Diego County Office of Education, and I'm a coordinator on our College and Career Readiness team. And I'll be your room host today. Please feel free to use the chat to ask questions throughout the session. As I think most of you might have heard, we're going to go through the presentation, allow time for Q&A. We'll allow ample time for that to answer your questions, and I'll go ahead and monitor the chat. So I will turn it over to Dr. Mimi or Deborah, who will be doing the introductions for the panel.
Eileen actually will be taking it. Eileen.
Okay, yes. Great. Thank you.
Hi, Margie. Hi, Margie. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having us here. Good afternoon to our educators and teachers and administrators. First of all, again, thank you for inviting the Society of Women Engineer Outreach Committee team to speak with you today. I am Eileen Fame. I am the Executive Council member, a secretary from the Executive Council, SWE San Diego, and I'm also the SWE San Diego Outreach Committee sponsor. So we are excited to share with you today all about the SWE organization and our experiences during the COVID times, both from the collegiate and the professional viewpoint. So Mary, can you go to the next slide? So I can't see the mission completely. Let me go up a little bit. I was just going to read the mission of SWE, but if I can't see it, go ahead, Mary. You can read it for the audience.
Oh, there's actually nothing blocking it, so it must be something on your screen.
It must be.
So the mission of the society is to empower all women to achieve their full potential in careers as engineers and leaders, to be able to expand the image of the engineering and technology professionals as a positive force in improving quality of life, and to demonstrate the value of diversity and inclusion.
Great. So basically, regardless of the geography or any stage in our careers, the SWE is here to empower and provide resources and support to female engineers and leaders and those pursuing profession in the STEM field. So among some of our resources, they range from things like subject matter experts that offers technical guidance to mentoring and coaching and resume critiquing and networking. And we are also a global organization for both professionals and collegiate. So specifically for our SWE Nexters and the girls interested in pursuing engineering or any field in STEM, that we make sure that they are aware of the resources and the tools offered to them when they get to college, as well as when they start their career and their professional life. So with that, Mary, go ahead and Mary Isaac will be our moderator for the day. She is an active SWE member for 35 years. And so, Mary, I give you the floor now.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Back here. I'm going to have to see if I can unpin.
Oh, there it is. Now I see the entire thing.
Oh, hard to say what happens, you know, very hard to say. Thank you so much for that. So I am, as she said, I'm a 35-year member of the society. While we are waiting, and while I talk to you a little bit, I'm going to ask anybody that's on the call if you can scan this image. This is to get a little bit of sense from you as teachers and participants, the kinds of issues that you were facing into and the kinds of challenges you were facing into over the last 20 months, 24, almost 2 years now, in terms of dealing with the pandemic. So I'm an engineer. I'm a mechanical engineer. I retired young. I retired at 52 because I could, and I went back to school. and I got my master's in teaching initially. And then I went back and decided that I was more interested in doing research and looking into research on why there aren't more girls involved in specifically engineering and technology fields rather than STEM fields in general. And so that's what my PhD focused on, was looking at female engagement, STEM engagement, particularly having to do with middle school and above. And then later on, after I finished my dissertation, and even before I finished it, I realized that largely the focus was on role models. And many of us had great role models. The role model that I had as a child was my father, who was an electrical engineer, and he made me want to not be an engineer. And so it was a negative experience for a role model for me to not realize that this was something that I did not want to do initially. And as time went on, I realized I liked working with my hands, and that was really where my strengths were in problem solving and recognizing issues that needed to be resolved. So if we have gotten any kind of feedback, let me just find our other little gizmo over here. Can you see this screen?
Yep.
Yep, cool. So this is basically the kinds of issues that we would have faced into. Equitable access to needed technology. And interestingly, these are some of the same issues that I ran into delivering outreach. And I'm also the camp director for Tech Trek for San Diego, AAUW Tech Trek, and some of your teachers and districts may be utilizing or nominating campers to go to that at UCSD. So we did not have an in-person camp. We did virtual, and we delivered a statewide program to over 600 girls this past summer. Many of the same issues that you're talking about here, we had to learn how to deal with so that they could have a positive experience moving forward. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, let me get back to the presentation. And again, that link, all of this can be available to you. Let's talk a little bit, and this is going to geek some people out because this is engineering 101 here. This is stress versus strain. So when you start talking about stress, I mean, we all deal with stress every day. This has been a very stressful last 24 months. And there's a certain amount of stress that we can recover from, and there's a certain amount of stress that we're never going to recover from. The part that's going to take us to the fracture point where we're finally going to break, we're going to crack, we're going to say, I can't do this anymore, is way over here. So we actually can withstand a lot of stress before we finally do break. But there's this concept of elasticity and plasticity, and this applies to materials, but it's very easy to think of it in terms of your mental states too. So if we look at this plastic regime, and here, this area and here, if you're in this area, you're going to develop what's called toughness. You're going to be tough. It's going to be really, really hard to break you. And there's going to be a point at which you're going to get tougher, and then you're going to get weaker, and then finally fail. And that's when you fracture. Where we want to be is here in the elastic range. We want to be in that range because that's the area of resilience. That's where I'm going to be able to push myself almost to the yield point, and then I'm going to be able to back up again and do it again, because I'm going to still have energy. I'm not going to lose any energy in the cycle. So you want to stay in that resilient, elastic, where whatever stress you're putting on, whatever deformation or strain you're experiencing will go away when that stress is removed. Once you get past this yield point, that stress, whatever residual deformation or strain that you incurred, is never going to go away. So what we're going to talk to you a little bit about today is building resilience, and how as a community, building that resilience is really what's important to help us keep more girls engaged in STEM and to get more girls engaged in STEM. And to do that, we are going to have our panelists speak each individually for a few minutes about their various experiences, starting with Lena, who is our youngest community member here, and she is involved with our SWE-NEXT program. And then that will be followed by Deborah Kimberling, who will share a little bit of her experience as the cat herder for the SWE-NEXT for all of our young students, and also some of our role models in trying to keep people involved with getting engaged. And then Eileen will share with us some of her experiences and some of the different experiences that they work through as a professional, and the things that they took away from their experiences over the last 2 years that they're going to keep, the positive things. How are they, the things that enabled them to snap back? So they're going to talk a little bit about what that was. Lena, welcome.
Hi all, thank you for having me. My name is Lena Batifa, and I recently graduated from Westview High School this past year, and I'm currently a first-year student at UCSD majoring in data science. So my time with SWE, getting to know SWE, actually started before high school. It started in middle school when I would attend SWE events held by UCSD's SWE section. These events were honestly my first time being exposed to the idea of engineering and programming and just the concept and being in a completely new environment. At first, I wasn't actually completely comfortable, but going and engaging with a bunch of females who were also in the same position as me and just there to gain more knowledge really made the experiences a lot more enjoyable and the environment's a lot more comfortable. And then during these events, I had an opportunity to learn a bunch of hands-on experiences, start my little mini programming projects, and just gain a ton of like insights that I wanted to continue to explore, which ultimately led me to seek for a club in high school that would allow me to do this. And that's how I ended up joining SWE-NEXT Club my freshman year of high school. I stayed with the club all 4 years, and I joined the exec team throughout. And I was able to plan and run events through SWE-NEXT and participate in the events as well. SWE-NEXT allowed me to like participate in different activities, one of them being the Technovation Challenge, where we were able to build an application, a mobile application, and compete with girls all over the world. And me not knowing any programming or very little programming before, it was a really good experience just working with a team of girls to build an application. And then another one was the Design Lab Challenge. This one was held by SWE, and we were able to work with different girls to come up with our own ideas and work in a team. So that was great. So throughout SWE-NEXT, I met a ton of people, both from my school, from other schools, as well as from people from industry. And these connections helped a lot in different areas of my life. Just talking to different people and learning from their experiences really did it helped me grow, as well as become more comfortable in the fields that I'm going into. And then one of the nice things that my SWE-NEXT Club was asked to do at our high school was we were asked to host an Hour of Code week by the administrators. So this was a week where SWE-NEXT students and members were able to come up with activities that students from from our whole school, all grades, were able to participate and learn the basics of coding. And this was great recognition to our own club and what we did, and then show like we were actually making an impact and doing different things on our own campus. So that was with SWE-NEXT. And my senior year of high school was when the main year was when we went virtual. And this was me trying to run the club. And one of the things that I had to make adjustments to, there was a lot of things I had to make adjustments to during the pandemic, but one of them was finding curriculum that would engage the students. At first, it was really hard. I'm sure you guys experienced it. It was hard to get the students engaged and getting them to come to club meetings. But it was us, like as a team of the exec people running the club, us delving deeper into the curriculum and finding the parts that would engage students as well as making them enjoyable, and incorporating as much as team activities as possible. And that's how we ultimately gained more traction to our club and got more females involved. So us manipulating the curriculum so it was covering the basics and what was needed, but also making it, finding the enjoyable parts really did help. And that's something I've continued to do after I've left SweNext. And then another thing we did, which helped a ton, and I'm sure a lot of the students really did learn from this, was collaborating with different organizations virtually. This made it so much easier, where we were able to work with different organizations, get more people involved, and talk to people from industry, like bring in females from industry to come talk to our clubs. This made it a lot easier, and a lot of the girls, this was our most popular meeting ideas, because a lot of people just wanted to hear from other people's experiences, especially females who have gone through the struggles and through the process. So those are the things. Yes, if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you so much, Lena. That was really, really informative for me, because I love hearing the stories about how we've been able to get girls connected to science, engineering, and especially things they've never done before. So thank you so much for that. Deborah. You're on mute. Let's see. There we go.
Thank you. My name is Deborah Kimberlane, and I run a nonprofit called the San Diego County Engineering Council. We are an umbrella organization that work with about 30 local engineering societies, and our big activity is the annual Engineers Week activities here in San Diego. And when you think of that, think of engineering awards. We have an award ceremony every year. I am also a 30-year member of SWE San Diego, and I am a fellow of SWE, as Mary is as well. I'm a member of SHIP, NSBE, AAUW, a lot of the local chapters here. I strongly believe in the engineering societies or STEM societies as a way to support youth and the advancement of engineering in general. I also volunteer at the society level. I actually am on the SweNext Publications Committee that put on some of the SweNext publications, the newsletters that you see. And I've also been pretty active in the SWE late career and retirees as a way of keeping community, not just from high school, but all the way through late careers and retirees. Locally, I became a SWE counselor back in a club SWE counselor back in 2015, when one of the first high schools came out and they said, hey, we want to form a club. And it's right in the time when all of the SweNext club formations were just getting started. And I've since had the privilege of working with all of the clubs in one way, shape, or form through the last few years. And today I am the SweNext chair for the local section and help bring community with the clubs to help as a support network for whatever their needs are, from speakers to help me with SWE, or how do I market this? One of the biggest challenges that we faced in the pandemic probably had to come from taking an awards banquet, which is an evening celebration, and turning it virtual. But one of the most amazing things that came to light was the fact that the team got even more creative than our wildest imaginations. They ended up putting on events throughout the entire week. Instead of just having one keynote, we had these on-demand speakers. so that everybody who had something to could say could put it out there. And they came up with the Engineering Legend program to help highlight some of the local unsung celebrities that you may not know in the local community who are engineers that have paved the way for the city of San Diego. Through the SWE Next community, it's kind of funny, but I think the pandemic has really expanded their connection to the professionals. You see many more of the speaker events. They're opening up to not only just their club, but others outside of the club. And now the professionals, instead of driving to their school for a half an hour of lunch, they're able to connect at any time virtually. And so that has been a big win. And even so, as part of the SWE Next chair, what I do is I host summits with the local clubs. I help bring communities so that they come together. We do collaboration events. And for instance, Lena helped organize a clubs video that we did with all of the San Diego clubs. And that video is available online. I'll share with you where that is a little bit later. But it's through this building community that we may not have done as well otherwise if we had to wait for in-person meetings. So there's a lot of things that it's added. And I believe, yeah, it's a little cooler in a certain sense, but it's expanded the connection, the ability to connect as an outreach practitioner with the students. Thank you, Mary.
Great feedback, Deborah. Eileen.
I had to make sure I unmuted myself.
Thank you. You did good.
All right, so everybody knows who I am. I had mentioned that I'm a member of the SWE San Diego Executive Council, as well as the SWE Outreach Committee sponsor. So my daytime job, I am a consultant application engineer for Solar Turbines. We are based in San Diego, and we make gas turbine engines, basically either to power a building or a university, or to move natural gas for customers like San Diego Gas and Electric. So that's what I do during the daytime. I am also a mother with a 16-year-old boy. He's an athlete, very passionate in baseball, but academically, he is also pursuing a STEM field, in the STEM field. He wants to be either in the aerospace or the mechanical engineering field. So he's still trying to figure out where he is at, but he is also pretty technical. So the one adjustment that we had to do during pandemic, the family, is how to be more considerate of each other's space. So pre-pandemic, we had no problem. We all left the house, went to school, went to work, nothing to do with space. We had all the space in the world. Then when pandemic hit, chaos. We were all in the same house, cooped up, and every time we had a call, everybody was telling me, shh, mom, I'm trying to listen to my teacher on the other side. So it was pretty chaotic. And so for sure, we had to just make sure that this couldn't happen too long, and we had to change something quickly. So we basically found space in the house and where we can all be safe and able to either talk to our teachers or colleagues or customers. So basically it's a room with a door, and not only a room with a door, but a room with a door that's able to properly be wired so that we can be connected to the rest of the world. The network has to connect. And that was a challenge on its own, because I'm not going to go into how our house is laid out, but it was not easy. But when we made that change, everything calmed down, and I feel that that is a permanent change, and it's something that we will carry all through post-pandemic. So that's all I've got to say. All right. You're muted. Stop.
Again, I'm muted. Okay, that's great feedback. I think that the And we have since been joined by Dr. Nguyen. Tracy, do you want to join in and just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your connection with SWE and how you got involved? And you are on mute.
Thank you, Mary. Basically, I was inspired to join the Society of Women Engineers back in 2016 when my daughter was looking for role models, because I'm not an engineer and I want her to have role models. And that's how we stumble upon the Society of Women Engineers. And since then, I've been a huge STEM advocate. And I'm happy to be supporting SWE this year as the Outreach Committee Chair. And I'm really happy to be here today to share my experience, especially with starting multiple SWE Next clubs in multiple high school in San Diego. And we're in the process of helping other countries like Paraguay and Libya. So what I'm hoping is if there are educators here, teachers here that might want to bring SWE Next to their school also. So on to the question, Mary.
You're muted, Mary.
Great. I unmuted the one, but not the other. Thank you. Thanks, Tracy. We have one question in the chat box, and then we have also a couple of questions that we had received prior to this, or questions different people have asked us over time about how we can help them. So in the chat box, Lena, looking for a little bit of advice for high schoolers, current high school students. You know, how to, I'm assuming, Sonny, that you're asking about how do they deal with going to college in a remote environment, and how do you deal with, or a semi-remote or socially distanced, or whatever it is, if you want to clarify that, Sonny. Because there's a lot of do's and don'ts for high school students, I'm sure. So if we want to maybe get a little bit more specific. Or Lena, just your thoughts.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Fanny has dropped off,
Okay. But
but yeah, great.
Yeah, okay. I would say the biggest advice I would give any high schoolers is to take as many opportunities as possible and make those connections. And that's like the most general thing I would say. Go out of your comfort zone, or have them go out of their comfort zone and do things that they didn't expect to do. And that's honestly the times I learned most, and I was able to make those connections that I didn't think I would be interested in making, or those experiences that I know I could, that would be so good and beneficial to my future. As for the don'ts, the don'ts would be just don't stay secluded, have an open mindset in general to all the possibilities. Just, yeah, open mindset, like don't have a closed mindset.
Deborah, do you want to add anything to that? You're on mute too. Yep.
No, I think that's really good. You have to, even before or after, you have to be really conservative with your time, right? That you don't get sucked up through the Ethernet, and you organize and you plan and you start your day appropriately. So I would say that's the good part. The don'ts, it's really hard sometimes to get responses sometimes. And so try to be responsive and give people an opportunity when they're not, because it's overwhelming with all the electronic cures that come through.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably pretty accurate. I think the other, some of the do's is do make connections, as you said, take advantage. If you see a name, you see a speaker, you hear something, follow up with it. Don't let it sit by the wayside. it's your network that's really going to provide you the support. And what we've discovered, it's the community itself, and having this larger community that maybe the person you talk to doesn't know the answer, but they know somebody who knows the answer, or they know an expert that can come in. Take advantage of everything. To Lena's point, take advantage of opportunities. She was talking about the coding. It's like, it may not be something that you think that you're good at or that you could be good at, and wow, you are. And it's like, wow, okay, this is kind of cool that I was able to do that. And I think that that sense of accomplishment will carry you through emotionally into the next harder thing, you know. And I think that this is hard. It is hard to deal with isolation and having to do things in kind of a bubble, but I think having the positive aspects about it will be helpful. So we've got a couple of questions that we'd like to, that we talked a little bit about, that we want to make sure that we share. So what can we do? What can this SWE community do for this community that we're talking to, that we're having a conversation with right now? The educators, the people who are guiding our students into career pathways that hopefully will include engineering. So if we want to get more girls into those fields, what can we do for them? What do we bring to the party? Deborah or Tracy, you want to have Tracy is the outreach chair for San Diego, Deborah as the SWE Next mother hen or mother superior, or whatever you want to, mother superior. I like that one. Class.
Well, you know, first of all, in terms of, I think you said earlier regarding having role models is so important, right? At the Society of Women Engineers, the San Diego section, if you're looking for speakers or if you're looking for role models, we are a source that is available. So anytime that you want to provide an event of some sort, we can be that resource. That's one thing. Do you want to share something else, Deborah?
Yeah, Mary, can you bring up that one slide on SWE Next?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just want to talk a little bit about SWE Next. First of all, SWE has over 40,000 members in it, right? This is an international organization. They have tons of these volunteers, and they do outreach at this community at the national level. That's outstanding. And they're the ones that put on the SWE Next program. This program includes the contest that you heard Lena talking about. It includes a leadership academy that high school students can attend. They have all these competitions. They have the awards. It builds that community. The one thing that not everyone knows is that it is open to both girls and boys. Everyone needs role models. It is also open up to adults. Adults can sign up too. When you join SWE Next, it's all free. What you're getting is a monthly newsletter subscription, a SWE Next newsletter subscription. And they have, it's for students in grades 9 through 12. They have younger students or the adult advocates too. And I think that the best part is the role models that come out in it. Globally, SWE Next has about 6,000 members, and it has pretty close to 100 clubs. SWE Next has all these clubs that are just starting to pop up in San Diego. We have about 15 high school and middle school clubs, and it's really exciting. I'm going to put in the chat or link tree, and in that link tree it will have the signups. It'll have the connection to the San Diego section where you could go and find the role models. When clubs have events, we post them up front, and it also has a listing of all the clubs. And if you go all the way down, you'll see the latest SWE Next newsletters where you can just read it if you want to get an idea what's in it. And the other thing about the clubs, the resources that SWE Next has is if one of your students decide to start a club, or you're interested in starting a club, there is a Clubs 101 guide. You go to the link for more information about SweNext, and they tell you all the details about what you need. And if you need any help, this entire team is here to help you, but I am dedicated in San Diego to help you either find a SWE counselor. It requires one SWE member, and that would be one of your SWE counselors to be affiliated with a club. And so that's that. Did I miss anything, Tracy, that you can think of?
Well, I completely recommend, if you're an educator at a school and if you don't have a SweNext club, that's a consideration. Like Deborah just said, we want an advisor that's at the school that can correspond with the admin. And then, of course, you would have a SWE counselor, which is associated with the society. So we work in conjunction with each other.
And one last thing, you can also sign up to be a member for educators, and it is the greatest deal that I've ever seen. As an educator, as a full-time K-12 educator, if that's your primary job, you can join SWE for just $20 a year. And it's an amazing program. So think about it, and it opens up so many more resources out there, from videos to training and much, much more.
Cool. So that's great information. I'm looking at some of the other questions. We've got from Margie, does SWE assist with informing curriculum or developing engineering career pathways or participating in industry advisory committees? And I would say the answer is generally yes. We actually have a whole programs group that is working with, that works with other organizations to develop programming for high school, more specifically middle school and high school, to try and make sure that we're not there to become curriculum developers. Our superpower, if you want to call it that, is are the members, the role models, the people that are going to work with your girls to show them, to be the instructors, to be the people that show them how to be an engineer or what engineering is about. And that's really our superpower, much more so than curriculum development. But having said that, we have done quite a few programs. We continue to develop programs that are geared specifically towards hands-on activities. Another question that came up, so what do you think, Eileen, what do you think based on your experience in the workforce? Because, and Tracy to some degree, but although you're not in an engineering field, what are the sets of skills that kids are going to have, that will enable them to be successful in an uncertain environment?
Thank you for that question. So as far as skills in the professional world, I come up with 3. First of all, I think being curious is important. Don't be afraid to ask questions and keep learning. And to me, personally, it was a little bit hard to begin with, because in my culture, the way I was brought up, I don't speak a lot. I don't ask questions a lot. I'm told really to just respect the elders and you just be quiet most of the time. And so in the corporate world, it's not like that. And the more you ask questions, the more knowledge you gain, and the more people you have that social interaction with others. So, and specifically where I work, I'm surrounded with subject matter experts. So every day I'm learning something new. I mean, just 5 minutes ago, not 5 minutes ago, sorry, about 5 hours ago, I was working on a project, and I learned something new about a package, but I won't go into that. But anyway, yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions. I also think that being resourceful is a must, that find out what's out there for you to how to be able to do your job or schoolwork better, faster, and more efficient. So just like you can relate schoolwork into real work with this concept. It's just being resourceful and knowing what's out there that can help you out, and also be resilient, like Dr. Mary mentioned earlier today. Change is happening everywhere and it's happening fast. So we need to just make sure we're keeping up with it.
I mean, that's really good feedback. I think one of the things that we forget sometimes in a working world is it takes a very the successful people are well-balanced people. So they're the people that are taking the skills, their leadership skills, and they're coupling them with their people skills, and the people that are the better at doing all of those things are likely the people that are going to be the most successful. So it's coupling those agentic skills, which are historically very masculine skills. They're the skills that employers typically are looking for in an engineering leadership workforce. They're looking for people who are decisive, people who are independent, people who can be somewhat less emotional about making some decisions. They're people with confidence. That's what they're looking for. And those tend to be what are referred to as instrumental or masculine characteristics. We need to encourage our girls to display those. We need to continue to do more of that. The skills that are becoming equally important in the workforce are those skills that are teaching them kindness and consideration, which oftentimes are considered feminine skills, those communal skills of bringing people together to do things. So combining those skills of knowing what it is that I want to do, along with how do I bring others into this party so that we can continue to move forward. Those are skills that if your kids have those, if you're able to get them to learn those particular skills, they're going to be successful down the road. Okay, we have time for one last round of questions, and this is going to be a wrap to each of the panelists. I'm going to ask, including Tracy. And it's really, so in the past year, I'll give you an example. I was reached out to by, not from within the San Diego community, but several teachers from outside San Diego reached out to me to do Skype a Scientist. Kind of a simple thing. Call me and ask me to come in, and we did a little activity, and I went for a couple weeks, and first week we teed up the activity and I came back and I did it the next week. So to me, that seems like a pretty easy thing for me to do, and for a teacher to say, and I think this was 5th or 6th grade or something, just using some of the tools that are available and getting some of our members engaged with talking to kids about what engineering is all about. So take advantage of that, do more of that, bring us into your classroom virtually. It's much easier than having to go through the whole process. And I will tell you, you'll probably get better participation from us, because I don't have to take an hour out of my day to go through traffic to go somewhere, and then another hour to get home. So I think thinking about those kinds of things, how can you take better advantage of that? Deborah, what do you think? What one thing would you like to see teachers do more of that they've been doing for the last year to help us get more girls engaged? You're on mute.
I always think back to when I first decided to become an engineer. I didn't have any engineering role models, and it was a math teacher that just made the suggestion, have you ever considered becoming an engineer? And I know that you are already doing that in some way, shape, or form, but let SWE Next help you. And it's just so simple. every single STEM teacher in your school or district should sign up for the free SWE Next Adult Advocate newsletter, and you will be getting role models in your inbox about all these different engineering professions and what they look like from all of these different SWE women from around the world. And at the same time, get your students in your robotics clubs and your engineering and technology courses and tell them it's just a requirement of the class to sign up for SWE Next newsletter during the course, and they can always opt out later, but get them the exposure that I never had. And maybe we together we can make a difference.
Nor me. So do it. Do it. Lena, what do you think? You who have lived through it with the teachers and for the last 18 months.
Yeah. Adding on to it, you've said, Dr. Mary, as well as Deborah said, one of the things that's really helped with me and a lot of girls in my school, females in our school, engaging and getting exposed to the STEM field was just teachers sending us information. Just a simple, like a lot of, there's so many different events going on in person and now a lot online, and they're targeted for females to gain the exposure. So them giving us information and getting it to, bringing it to our club or just in our classes really does help. It's just taking one step, like a simple email. And that's how I gained a lot of my opportunities out of SWE Next. Just those simple, quick emails. And then I know a lot of females from our clubs really appreciated them because it is connecting us with a bunch of other people from all over, which is an opportunity for us to just learn and grow. So that was like one small suggestion. Yeah.
One step at a time, one little thing at a time. Eileen.
Yes, so online learning is an environment that gives our female engineers an ability to control their time and the place and the pace of how they learn. So it's worth recognizing this and working with our students. So be the resource, be the support, and be the encouragement for them now and even post-pandemic.
Yeah, that's going to be really important. Tracy, do you have anything to add? And then we're going to give it back to Margie, who's going to do our little survey at the end. Tracy?
So I have two things that I would like to share. The first one is definitely, even though we go back on site, I think having a hybrid virtual platform is important because like what Dr. Mary has said, you can Skype or FaceTime or do a Zoom with an astronaut from JPL. That astronaut doesn't have to go all the way to San Diego to meet your students. So that's the one thing. I think that virtual platform is going to be around for quite a while. We're going to capitalize on that. Now, the second thing too that I think it's really, really important is we're going to circle back to SWE Next. I have a senior in high school right now that have extremely benefit from the Society of Women Engineers. And why is it important? She's on a robotics team where there's 70 students, and now the 70 students, 25–30% are females. And guess what? It's tough to be on the team when you're the minority. So I think it's important to have to start a SWE Next club at your school, so that the primary reason why we even started one at Poway High School was because to support the girls on the team. Now boys can join too, because we want boys to be allies with the girls. So we're not saying that boys can join, but the primary goal is to support and encourage girls to pursue STEM careers. So those are my two.
That's a great summary too. And I think that that's going to be very important. I noticed Margie has put the survey link in the chat box. So you want us to do that too, or just the
for our attendees? Yeah, which I think we're maybe down to just only a few, but because we're always looking for improving for next year, and we want to make sure that we're able to address our teachers, their needs. And this was a great presentation. Thank you so much. And You really are SWE superheroes. And,
That's
and
great.
yeah, and well, you said your superpower, so it's like, this is great. So we really appreciate your time and your commitment and your investment in really helping build that next generation of diversifying, getting more women in engineering. So that is much, much appreciated. And then I'm not sure if anyone needs to take a screenshot for, which I don't think so, but I'm going to go ahead and put it up here just in case. Not sure who we may have left on the call. But this is for anyone who has to show that they attended, participated